Hey everybody, welcome to a video where we're going to be discussing something I've wanted to talk about for a long time, and this is flying legally and safely within Canada, and it's very similar for US. So I want you to join me on what is going to be most likely the most boring flight you've ever seen me fly on. I was very careful to fly out or to drive out to this location almost an hour from my home so that I could be within the guidelines. Let's have a look at the map. Okay, so now looking at the map, you can see that I'm in the center of all these dots. What those dots are is airports and helipads, all with a 9 kilometer radius around them. So you'll be able to see, and I've got a screen video showing like the GTA, which is where I'm from. I'm from Burlington, not too far from Toronto. And basically, it makes it very difficult to fly if you want to follow the guidelines, which we're going to go over in a moment. But first, I will show you the screen recording right there that shows you what the GTA looks like for flying zones. Unfortunately, it won't let me zoom out on this app to get a broader view. But as you can see, anything with a circle around it is a no-fly zone according to the 9 kilometer rule. This is built in the app so that you can be safe when you fly. And to a lot of people, that's not an issue. They say, well, that's great. I'm going to drive an hour or 2 hours away and go to the middle of nowhere and find a farm field. Well, there's still some technical issues with that. First of all, I did pull over on the side of the road. I didn't fly over the road at any point during this flight. I did take off from the shoulder of the road, though, but I flew over property. I still didn't get permission. Let's go ahead and check out the guidelines first so we know exactly what we're dealing with here. There we are. So now we can see our guidelines, which I'm not worried about the always side. I'm looking at the do not side. So do not fly closer than 9 kilometers from any airport, heliport, or aerodrome. So we've already done that. You've seen what that looks like on a map. Very much limits where you can fly. Higher than 90 meters. Okay, what do we got? Closer than 150 meters from people, animals, buildings, and structures or vehicles. So this one was very difficult for me. I've done my best. Like I said, I drove almost an hour away from my place to find this location on the side of the road that would allow me that 150-meter buffer zone. I'm sure I'm actually breaking it. I'm doing the best I can. And I'm going to give kudos to people that are in a position to find that specific location. If you're way up north, I'm guessing, or in the middle of Saskatchewan or the Nevada desert, you could probably pull that off no problem. But most normal people are not able to do that. What else do we got here? You can't fly in populated areas near large groups of people, such as beaches, sporting events, outdoor concerts, all that stuff. Okay, well, there's none of those here, so we were good on that one. Not near moving vehicles, which unfortunately I was doing the best I can. There are cars that are going to drive by, and I hope I don't get arrested and go to jail for this, because according to some people on YouTube, that's basically what's going to happen. What else do we got here? Bridges, busy streets, or anywhere else you could endanger or distract others, drivers. There were some people that slowed down to watch what I was doing. I was trying to signal them, don't look at me, don't look at me, keep going, don't look. But unfortunately, a few of them did get distracted and watch what I was doing. And I do want to apologize to the world for my terrible mistake there. It's just I didn't want to trespass and go on anyone's land. And as most of you know, there's no such thing as like crown land, or non-privately owned land in southern Ontario. I guess when you get way up north, you might be able to find some. And then what else we got? Anywhere you may interfere with first responders. Okay, well, there was none of them there. So overall, I think I did pretty good on this list at following along with that. The only problem with that is this video is boring as shit. I maintained visual contact with the drone at all times. Like, I did look down at my screen a few times, but I purposely did the majority of the flying actually watching the drone. Actually, when I left home to go do the flight, I was like, oh, it's actually nice out, no wind. I brought my FPV goggles, and I was going to go and fly FPV with the Lychee app. And Then I decided to do this because it was a perfect day for it. I've wanted to do it for a while and address this. Um, People just have this big fear, and I'm going to call it a baseless fear because it's based on what? You know what I mean? If I had lost my drone at this point, I'd been flying for about 5 minutes. The drone still could have easily covered 20, 30 kilometers of distance in a flyaway. So now here I've done everything right, and I could still go and fly away and make it back to a big city or to an airport. It could make it 9 kilometers to an airport, no problem. So it's I'm not understanding with the rules. They're unfair. Now, talking about the rules, we're going to be addressing a few things, and I'm sorry if you guys don't like the video, but I get a lot of comments. Recently, I uploaded a video where one of my first flights was my Mavic. I flew across a bay. It was 5 kilometers each way, and I barely made it back before the battery died. And then people were saying that I shouldn't have been flying over water because that's reckless. I don't understand how. First of all, I'm not worried about the $1,500 I paid for the drone. I don't want to hurt anybody. So if I'm going to fly somewhere, wouldn't that be the safest location? I'm only out my drone, but nobody gets hurt. So I don't understand people's problem with flying over water. I say in the video it was 4 degrees Celsius out, which is actually very similar to today. Today was 3 degrees Celsius out. People say, oh, well, then that's, you're going to have problems. You can't fly. That's way too cold for one of these drones. Well, I'm going to call hogwash on that shit because I've got several videos up where I'm flying and it's ridiculously cold out. Minus 18 with a wind chill of minus 22 the one time, but drones don't feel wind chill, so that's not an issue. Another minus 18 degree or whatever day last week with the Mavic. The other one was on my Phantom. Absolutely no issues at all. People come up with this stuff in their head with nothing to base it on. What are we basing these claims on? One of the greatest things I love doing is when you guys leave comments, I'll actually often go and check your channel. I will have somebody that says, oh my God, you're so irresponsible. You flew seriously over a factory and you're not allowed to fly over buildings. So I'll go and check their thing, and they are an FPV flyer flying with goggles. Well, guess what? That's actually a violation when you with the maintained sight. If you read into that, the visual line of sight, you're not allowed to wear goggles while you fly. You're not allowed to fly FPV. You're not allowed to rely on just a screen. So anyone with these little micro drones and whatever, they're technically breaking the rules too. Now, what does it mean to break the rules? I'm talking about here in Canada. We are different than the US. You got to keep that in mind. Here in Canada, my interpretation, and I've got to say interpretation because I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a government official. I don't work with the Transport Canada. You guys have the FAA in the USA. We have Transport Canada Civil Aviation Department. And they are very hard to get a straightforward and direct answer from. So I have numerous email communications back and forth. I will not be publishing the emails on here at this time because that's my backup. I'll be right up honest with you. But the emails, correspondence that we have, that's my backup if I ever get in trouble for when and where I fly. I have repeatedly asked them to clarify laws versus guidelines. I have been told that when I ask at which point, what am I doing when it's breaking the law or whatever, and they said don't fly through a cloud and don't fly over an airport. There doesn't seem to be any legality to the don't fly over 90 meters, don't fly at night, don't fly out of line of sight, don't fly over people. There's no basis for this. These are suggestions, and they say, hey, you know what, you shouldn't do this. And they keep referring back to that. Every time you guys go ahead and email them yourself and say, hey, I just want to be clear. What are the laws and what are the guidelines? Say, I'm only interested in hearing the laws. They will refer you back to the guidelines. And then to that email, if you follow up and you say, oh, okay, that's great. I need to actually know what I'm going to get convicted of if I break one of those. They will not answer you. Nobody there will go on record to tell you what law you are breaking. Why? Because it's not against the law. And people need to understand that. I get these comments, and I'm not telling people to go fly irresponsibly. Some people say I fly irresponsibly. Some people say they like the way I fly. I'll tell you what. I spent all this money on this drone and the previous drones. to have fun with it, and I consider myself to be a safe flyer. Have I taken risks? Yes, I have. Am I ready, able, and willing to accept responsibility for those risks in the event that something goes wrong? Yes, I am. I have markings on my drone identifying who I am and my phone number. If something goes wrong, guess what? I'm responsible for it. And and everybody should be like that. I've said previously I'd be all for a licensing and an insurance mandate. Even if you had to do a little course or something like that, just knowing the dangers. But there should be an approved list of drones that kind of take away some of those things. I say 90 meters is too low. You know what? I say whatever. Even give us 500 feet or something. In the States, you guys get 400. Give us 500 at least. That's only 50 stories. When you think of it like that, that's actually not crazy high. There's just, to me, the rules are ridiculous. You saw, it took me almost an hour to drive to this location to fly around in an empty field, and I'm still not doing it right. I'm still right next to a roadway. There's no way for me to, that I know of, to bypass that rule without breaking the law. Or, well, not the law, the guideline. I suppose if you were the farm owner and you owned it, that would be great, but just make sure you do not look at your crops at the same time. Why? Because that would be illegal. That would be commercial purposes. You are not allowed as a farmer to inspect your crops with your drone, but you can fly it around for fun over your field. So, like, the rules are absolutely ridiculous, and they're made by people that know nothing about the hobby. They're made by people that have no clue what they're talking about or why they're creating the law, that rule, or laws to be. I'm sure that these will be coming in the spring. We're supposed to have some new rules coming in. I actually have a buddy that a lot of you are subscribed to his channel, DJI Phantom Pilot. He had crashed his drone a while back, just into a river, nothing serious, whatever, and it was screwed up. So he got rid of the drone, and he's actually not even buying a new one now until the new laws come in, because he wants to know, is it even going to be worth it? Is our hobby going down the shitter, or are we going to be given some freedom? It's really, it's up in the air right now. I have no way to know, but anyway, the main reason of this video was just to go over those guidelines and how ridiculous they are and show you what a legal flight looks like. And it's still not even, I'm still breaking the rules, so it's not even a legal flight, but as close as I am personally capable of achieving is this. And it was the most boring time ever. And I'm not trying to put down anyone else's flying. I subscribe to a bunch of you guys know that, and I watch your videos, and this is all some people do. This is what they do. They go out to the middle of nowhere and they fly in circles. And that is great for them. And kudos to you for finding the enjoyment in that. A few minutes of zipping around was fun, but without goggles on, if I had been in FPV mode doing this, maybe sitting in my truck and I had my goggles on and I had it in sport mode and zipping up and down and around the trees and stuff, I probably would have had a good time. But standing there, I was actually watching the clock going, okay, how much longer of footage do I need to make this video exactly? Because it's just not that exciting. And, the excitement comes from normally being in a built-up area, either buildings or vehicles or whatever it might be you're looking at, maybe boats out along the beach, something worthwhile. For me, anyway, you know what I mean? I'm not insulting the people that do this. That's great for you. But you guys can go ahead, and if you click on that video and then click on some of the people that complain about where I'm flying, and you'll see exactly what I mean about where they're flying. I've had a few disagreements. I had somebody for when I flew at the new condo in Burlington. They say, oh, you're flying right next to a helipad. I go on his channel, and he's flying 5 kilometers or 4.8 kilometers or whatever from the Burlington airport. I tell him that, and he says, oh, well, it's not as bad as what you're doing. Well, right there is a perfect example of how hard it is to follow along the rules, because there's actually little airports dotting the whole countryside. They're all over the place. And a helipad, those are just a joke, because all that is a flat piece of, a flat square with an H in the middle, and you could have one helicopter land there a year, and it's still a helipad, and boom, that creates a 9-kilometer barrier around it. Case in point would be our Burlington OPP. They have a helipad. They don't have a helicopter actually stationed there. I think London is our closest stationed OPP helicopter. It's the rules are silly, and I'm sorry if this video is just going on and on and on, but it's just I sometimes I get frustrated. I do enjoy reading the comments, but I get frustrated. I'm trying to bring good content. I'm trying to be enjoyable. I'm not trying to endanger anybody. The last thing I want to do is hurt anybody or be that guy that finally hits a plane. Keeping in mind that nobody's actually hit a plane yet. The news has run plenty of fake stories of these hitting the planes, but it's never actually happened. And I don't think you could hit a helicopter with this if you tried. I know I've got some pilots that watch me, so pilots, you can chime in on this if you ever had any heli experience. I have gone for a flight in a helicopter, and even just running on the ground, we're not talking actually flying, just on the ground with the blade spinning at a good speed, I don't think this thing would stand a chance at getting it. It would be pushed to the ground. It would be pushed down. The prop wash is immense on a helicopter. But yet they keep their rules, and as of this point, though, I don't consider them law, and that's my take on it. Like I said, I've got a bunch of email back and forth, and no matter what, they will not provide me a code. You cannot just be charged with you flew over 90 meters. You get charged with you flew over 90 meters, 4.308, 2 dot section or whatever. You need all that stuff to get charged in Canada, and I'm sure the US is the same. There has to be all those codes to show what you've broken. So without those codes, it's not law. Laws have to go through, whatever in the States you guys put them through Senate, through here they go through the House Commons or whatever up in Ottawa. Like these things are how you make laws. And right now we have a set of what I'm consider to be a bunch of rules, a bunch of schoolyard rules to follow. And I do my best to follow the ones I see reasonable. And until then, I'm going to, until they are become laws, I'm still going to continue flying the way I do, where I do, how I do. And hopefully you guys will still watch my videos. I'm not trying to upset anybody by this, you know what I mean? It's just something that's been weighing in on me for quite a while. I read all the comments, and love or hate comments, I'm good with both, but it's just I wanted to get my opinion on it and show you what it takes to follow the rules if you wanted to follow them to the T. And sometimes I just want to ask some of these people that comment, like, are you seriously going to stand on the side of the highway with signs telling people they're speeding? Like, anyway, that's my 2 cents, guys. I know it was a long video of just mumbo jumbo, but I feel better. I got to say my part. You guys can say your part in the comments below. Love it, hate it, whatever you want. I will see you guys next time, and thanks for watching and listening to my crap.